Films always have meaning. That is something I believed in every time I watch or analyze one. Even when a film seems to show nothing of significance, there's always something to be uncovered. Take Paul Thomas Anderson's 2014 film Inherent Vice. On the surface, it appears to be about nothing, a convoluted journey that seems to end without any resolution. However, after multiple rewatches, it becomes clear that the film actually explores some themes, like the confusion and hopelessness of a changing decade, and the main focus of this video, how the film explores the philosophy of absurdism. Before we start, I want to preface that I will only be talking about the film. I know the movie is adapted from the same book written by Thomas Pynchon, but my sole interest in the story is from the film. So if any element of the story from the book is left out or minimized in the film, I'm sure PTA has a good reason to do so. Now let's start. So what is the philosophy of absurdism? Oversimplifying things, absurdism is a condition in which a human's natural curiosity for understanding clashes with the unresponsive and inherently meaningless universe they are born. So in our everyday lives, we'll encounter something that we can't understand, either from how it happened or why it happened. And when we try to understand it better, instead we are obstructed by other things that we couldn't understand. The cycle of trying to understand but instead being obstructed by some other things we couldn't understand will keep on going and going until our inevitable death. From the explanation of absurdism before, some parallels can already be seen. The first is from our main character, Larry Doc Sportello.
What's up, Doc?
The film established him as a private investigator, working day and night to solve cases and find the truth. This character trait parallels the human's natural curiosity to understand, just like from the explanation before. Throughout the film, Doc always wants to uncover the truth and the what and why things happen in his journey, representing what humans naturally are. Also, by making it his job, the film makes his purpose in the story more obvious. Doc is the representation of our natural curiosity to understand. He might have other ambitions, wants, and desires. However, as absurdism believes, Doc's biggest desire is to understand. The second parallel is the wacky, surreal, illogical, and often bizarre situation that Doc encounters. Throughout the film, Doc always managed to be stuck in similar absurd situations when trying to solve the cases he took, like this scene, or this scene. And when he tries to understand why it happened, or even what just happened, he is faced with more surreal situations that invite more questions instead of understanding. All of the scenes before parallel the meaningless and inherently absurd world we live in. The film visualizes the experience of absurdity we have using the scenes before. Not only that, the film also heightens the absurdity and the illogical by making those particular scenes more animated. So it becomes more obvious to the audience that the world Doc is living in is a pretty illogical one, just like our world. So embedded within Inherent Vice is an exploration of the philosophy of absurdism. Throughout the film, the plot points, characters' behaviors, and story beats all share the same framework from said philosophy. They all work to help introduce absurdism to the audience. Doc represents the natural intuitions of humans' need to discover the truth, and the surreal and illogical scenes he encounters represent the natural, unbothered world we live in. Both of them keep on clashing throughout the film until Doc's death. But wait, that doesn't happen in the film. Doc doesn't die in the film, nor does he have a symbolic death. In the end, Doc escapes the absurdity and finds meaning in all that has happened. So what did he do to escape? Let's analyze what he did. The first obvious step that anybody will take, which Doc also took, is to understand it. But we understand from the explanation of absurdism before, absurdity can't be understood. The world doesn't work that way. And that is exactly what happened to Doc. In this example, Doc was hired to find
Glenn Charlotte
that escaped his partner in crime without splitting the loot. Doc tries to solve the case. He tries to find him in his usual place, but he suddenly gets knocked out cold and wakes up finding Glenn, or the dead body of Glenn, right next to him. Trying to understand what the hell just happened to him while also trying to solve his other cases, he gets a message, which leads him to a secret rendezvous, which reveals that he got set up to look like he's a part of Glenn's death. And when he tries to understand again, he only gets increasingly plunged into the absurdist and nonsensical world, and the cycle will always continue until he breaks it. Albert Camus, the philosopher who popularized absurdism as a philosophical view, also talked about ways people took to understand absurdity. In his book, The Myth of Sisyphus, he discusses some methods people took to understand absurdity. The mind's first step is to distinguish what is true from what is false. However, as soon as thought reflects on itself, what it first discovers is a contradiction. This quote helps to explain what Doc's character went through before. It illustrates the paradox that arises when humans try to make sense of the absurdity of existence. So just by trying to understand it more, it won't work. Another method Camus discussed in his book is taking your own life. He explained that the world's lack of explanation can provide a deep loss of meaning, that the world is just random and doesn't care about you. All this can lead people to hopelessness and feeling like there's nothing they can do, that there's no reason to continue living, and wanting to escape from this feeling, they end their own lives. The film doesn't explicitly show somebody literally doing that, but it does show a different kind of ending one's life, which aligns with Albert Camus' definition. In his book, there are two ways of ending your life that he talked about. One is the literal way, where you physically end your life to escape the absurdities of life, while the other is what he refers to as the philosophical way. The process and the reason still the same as the literal way before, but instead of doing it to your own physical body to escape the world, you do it to your philosophical beliefs and embrace other beliefs that can help explain the absurdity faced. This means that you stop believing in the absurdity of life and start adopting other beliefs that help to explain the absurdity you went through. And this form of taking your own life can be seen in the journey of the character Mickey Wolfman.
Michael Z. Wolfman.
And Mickey Wolfman.
Mickey Wolfman
has vanished.
So,
Mickey Wolfman is a wealthy real estate developer in Los Angeles. The main plot is put in motion when Shasta, Doc's ex, hires him to investigate what happened to Mickey. This case from Shasta sets Doc on an absurdist journey of truths and lies, untangling all the webs of rumors around Mickey's current predicament. But instead of all the rumors being true, Doc actually finds out he has joined a mysterious cult called the Golden Fang. Mickey seems to find peace or contentment that eluded him in his previous life of wealth and business. From the point of view of absurdity, Mickey's character arc in the film can be seen as a man tortured by the absurdities of life committing the philosophical way of taking yourself. Yes, he did become a wealthy and powerful man in his life, but he did so by dealing with some shady people and undermining the struggles of poor people. Through his power and wealth, he reflects on the absurdity of life. But is this the right thing to do for people trapped in absurdities? When talking about taking your own life, Albert Camus concluded that the act is not a legitimate solution to the absurdity of existence. Simply put, I refused it. Despite recognizing the absurdity of life and the hardship of battling it, Camus argues against both philosophical and physical suicide. Ending one's life doesn't address the core issue, the absence of inherent meaning in the universe. It merely removes the person from the equation. If you do it, the fundamental issues of life's lack of inherent meaning remains unresolved, as ending your life doesn't provide an answer or a way to live meaningfully despite the absurd. In the case of the philosophical way, it is also the same, but instead of escaping by literally removing yourself, it is about believing in dishonesty and creating or adopting an illusion that denies the true nature of existence. So how should we face absurdity and find meaning behind all of it? Albert Camus also talked about how to find meaning in absurdity in the form of the myth of Sisyphus. In it, Camus uses the Greek myth of Sisyphus as a metaphor for the absurdity of the human condition. Despite the futility of his task, Sisyphus' defiance and perseverance symbolize the human struggle against the absurd. Camus concludes that recognizing the absurdity of life and embracing it without hope or escape allows one to live fully, suggesting that finding meaning is not in the outcome of our efforts but in the struggle itself, rather than in any final resolution or external purpose. Thus, I draw from the absurd three consequences, which are my revolt, my freedom, and my passion. This is what our Sisyphus for the film, Doc, took. In the film, when the boulder that Doc keeps on trying to push up the cliff, aka solving the cases and mysteries, keeps crashing down, Doc realizes that he can't and won't understand this absurdity, so he stops trying to solve everything, and instead embraces his life in absurdity. We see this happen in this scene. While Doc's at his home, Shasta suddenly shows up unannounced. The character who has been missing throughout the film, the one who pushed Doc down the rabbit hole of absurdities and conspiracies, just suddenly arrives without any explanation. Not only that, she also comes with an explanation for all the absurdities that Doc encounters throughout the film, which in itself is also an absurdity of how unexplained things randomly get solved. But look how Doc reacted. Instead of focusing on the absurdity that just happened in front of him, and all the explanations he just heard from Shasta, he just focuses on Shasta alone. It's not her explanation that makes him realize, but it's her presence there. He realizes that it's not about being able to be in control, but having control in small things. In this scene, he realized the futility of his actions toward absurdities. He knows that he won't understand everything. Like Sisyphus, he rebels in the face of absurdity. One thing that helps to explain how this film explores the philosophy of absurdism is the title of the film. Defined by Cambridge Dictionary, inherent vice refers to a natural characteristic that causes some goods to be spoiled or become damaged, which insurance companies will not accept as a risk. The film also explained the meaning of it.
Inherent vice is anything that you can't avoid.
The title, Inherent Vice, refers to how Shasta is Doc's inherent vice. She embodies his emotional vulnerability and how personal attachments can lead to struggles and turmoil. But that same sensibility can also be seen in how the title of the film refers to the philosophy of absurdism. Human life in itself is an inherent vice, something that can't be guaranteed because it is full of absurdism. Just like the many ways that Albert Camus talked about facing absurdism, and just like the many ways the characters of the film took to solve absurdism, our lives will take on many different paths when we face absurdism for ourselves. Some are dangerous, some might lead to our death, and some will help us overcome it. But it is still a risk. So the film not only explained how absurdism works to the audience, but it also explores ways to face them. Yet, it doesn't end there. The examination of absurdism also extends to the other themes of the film. Set in the 1970s, a time of significant social, political, and cultural transformation, inherent vice also reflects the uncertainty faced by individuals during this period. While Paul Thomas Anderson already deeply explored themes like the human condition in a rapidly changing world, seeing the world they are used to suddenly turning upside down, looking at it through absurdity's eyes may reveal more layers that add more intriguing thoughts and meanings. For instance, consider the character of Doc himself. As a private investigator, entrenched in the counterculture of the 1960s, he embodies a lifestyle and mentality that is increasingly out of sync with the encroaching conservatism and corporate ethos of the 1970s. Doc's confusion and disorientation throughout the film can be seen as a metaphor for the bewilderment many felt as they navigated this rapidly changing landscape. His constant search for meaning and understanding amidst the chaos mirrors the broader societal struggle to find stability and coherence in a world that seemed to be spinning out of control. All of this brings us back to the meaning of inherent vice. Doc's journey filled with bizarre encounters and inexplicable events, is a microcosm of the human experience in an absurd and indifferent universe. And the film explores them in many ways that in hindsight might seem too much. So much in fact that we couldn't see anything at all, and the audience that finished the film might feel like there is nothing in it. But once we accept the absurdity of this film and the world, Inherent Vice morphs into a profound exploration of the human condition, reflecting on how we cope with an ever-changing world and the absurdity of existence. And by examining the film through the lens of absurdism, we can appreciate the deeper meanings embedded within its seemingly chaotic and aimless narrative.
That's all, folks.
So that's it. Thank you for watching this video essay about Inherent Vice. If you guys notice, there are many weird phrasing that I use, and all of that is because I don't want to use this word. You know, like ending your own life, taking your own life, ending one's life. It's kind of weird, but I want to point that out. It's not because of my writing style, but I have to tread carefully around the word. And in doing so, it kinda hurt the script, but I think the result is it's not that bad. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching this video again, and like and subscribe so you can see more video about me talking a bunch of nonsense. So yeah, have a good day.